How do you set boundaries in a long distance relationship when you're not in the same space to clear the air when things need to be cleared or to make up, if you know what I'm saying, when you need to make up? How do you do that? Well, I'm here to tell you. I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist with Mended, and I dated my wife long distance for 6 months before we got married. So I've got some experience on this. Let's do this. It's Mended Light. So back in 2009 is when my wife and I met. She was in Texas, I was in Alabama. Her uncle and my dad were friends and said that we should start talking. We were both single. You know, she was a divorced single mom. And we weren't in the same place, which she actually really liked. She liked that, she says it made her feel safer that I couldn't come knock on her door. If I was a weirdie, I couldn't be like peering through the bushes or following her around. I guess that had happened sometimes. She's pretty, so stuff like that happens.
I'm not bothering you, just checking in.
But we had a really great experience because it was 6 months of casual conversation that wasn't especially romantic. It was just getting to know each other. That snowballed into, it was 2 phone calls a week to a phone call every other day to a phone call every day to several phone calls a day. You know, this was before there was a lot of video chat options. And several phone calls a day. And we did that for 6 months. And because there's pros to a long distance relationship. A lot of people don't think there are. They're just like, oh, this is hard, this is rough. But really, when you remove the physical component, it clears the waters.
Do not touch this. This is a no touching there.
Because for a lot of people, when you get physical, you feel very attached and you feel very in love, and it's hard to know what's real and what's not. And because we had nothing to do but talk to each other, we got a chance to really know each other. And then I invited her to Alabama for the 4th of July. I wasn't sleazy. I wasn't like, hey, come stay in my place. Like I found a family for her to stay with, but I took her out and took her on dates. And that's where we had our first kiss, and it was wonderful. What I loved about the long distance relationship was that chance to really get to know her.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
And then it got really difficult because she was still in Texas and then she was in Utah. And at this point we had met, we had kissed, we were together. And it went from, hey, this is fun, no low pressure getting to know each other to, I miss you. I want to be physically close to you. I want to be in the same space as you and hold you and tell you about my day and ask you about yours. There was this pressing need, and it got costly to fly back and forth across the country before I finished school and then we got married. It was hard because she was taking a lot of credit hours in school and I just wanted to talk to her all the time, like an eager puppy, just desperate for her affection. You know, when you come home and your dog's like ecstatic, like that's every time I got to talk to her.
I have just met you and I love you.
But if she talked to me as much as I wanted to talk to her, she wouldn't have been able to do all the work that she had to do, all the schoolwork. And she was a single mom. She had to attend to that too. So some boundaries had to be drawn, as well as what were her needs, what were my needs, and what were the rules of engagement, because I was really good friends with an ex-girlfriend and was still hanging out with her, So let's talk about how to draw boundaries. I'm going to tell you from my own experience as well as just some knowledge as a therapist.
I think it's time that we set some boundaries.
First of all, texting is for flirting and for communicating basic stuff. Do not text important boundary drawing conversations, because one thing that doesn't come across in text is tone. And when it's something that you or the other person or both could be very sensitive about, when people are sensitive, when they're insecure, we're more prone to misinterpret texts and to see them in the worst possible light and to interpret them in the worst possible light. Hop on a video call, right? Hop on a phone call. Again, texting is for flirting and communicating basic information. Don't have these important conversations over text. It can go really, really sideways, and I've seen that happen a lot.
Are you at the top of a tall building? Can you get to a roof quickly? Jump off!
The second thing is it's harder to reassure a person. Drawing boundaries is already a precarious situation, saying, hey, I love you or I care for you, but I can't talk to you 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day because I've got this and that. Like, it's a situation where someone's feelings can get hurt. Or, hey, I'm going to be out of service for a few days. Or, hey, I need to study for this final. I may not be able to talk to you for a couple days other than a quick check-in. It's a precarious situation where people are prone to feel unloved, rejected, not prioritized.
Love me. Love me.
And so the best way, you're not in the same place. Can't hug somebody, but you can have a face-to-face. Drawing boundaries looks like staying connected while making what your needs are very clear. Can't talk to you much for a couple days because I'm cramming for this final. Make sure during this couple of days, I miss you. Can't wait to talk to you on Friday. Can't wait to breathe again and to connect with you. What are the boundaries of what other relationships look like? If you're long distance, I've never seen a couple who was long distance who that was their long-term plan. It's always a short-term plan. We are in relationships to share our lives. We are in relationships to hold people close, to be connected.
Because we're connected.
It's hard when you're in the military and you get called overseas, right? It's hard when your job takes you away from home a lot. There's a lot of infidelity that happens because long distance is hard and people want someone to hold. So number one, make sure when you're together to make the most of it. Don't get wrapped up in other projects. Don't get wrapped up in other interests. Be all in and all about each other when you're together. Fill the canteen, as it were.
And I miss you.
And the next thing is be clear about what expectations are. What's the finish line? When are we going to be able to spend our lives together? Or if it's 2 months off, 1 month on, like, is that the life we're settling into? Is that what I'm signing up for? Is that what I want? Be very, very clear. And if things are shifting, don't avoid those conversations. A lot of people don't want to upset their partner, but when they hold it inside or they just try and deal with it here, it just gets worse. And mistakes are made, sometimes very serious ones. Right? In my case, I was very good friends with an ex-girlfriend, and we hung out all the time, and that was great. But it started to feel a little too cozy, and I backed off a little bit. And I did that because I was engaged. And when I say a little too cozy, like nothing happened, but it was just very familiar, and there's a history there. And Alicia was cool with us being friends and hanging out, but I was like, it's time to draw a clear boundary that I'm not seen out and about with an ex-girlfriend because that could hurt my fiance. People talk.
Hello? If someone says something bad about you, you'd want me to tell you, right?
So in your case, what do other relationships look like? What do other friendships look like? Are you getting needs met there that should only be met within this relationship? If so, it may be time to draw different boundaries, right? Not just with the person that you're dating, but with other friends, with other people that you're close to. If someone is serving as a replacement for your partner, that's not a healthy place to be, and you need clear boundaries there. Again, nobody that I know of gets into a long distance relationship, and that's the long-term plan. You ever see Pirates of the Caribbean, the third one, where Will Turner's he's the new Davy Jones, right? And he's like sailing the seas, and he can only come ashore once every 7 years to be with his wife. And I always thought that was such a sad ending, right? That Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley get to see each other like one night every 7 years, and she's going to be faithful to him, and that's like really beautiful on paper. But I feel really sad for her to raise their kid alone and see her husband once every 7 years. That's why the fifth movie, the ending was so satisfactory when they're reunited. But this is why, once again, when we're talking about boundaries, what is the timeline? What is the plan for us to share our lives together? What does that look like? These are conversations to have. The Beatles were wrong when they said all you need is love. You also need trust, you need intimacy, you need friendship. You need to be in the same place at least a fair amount of the time. So what's the plan?
And I love it when a plan comes together.
Have those conversations. Don't just trust, well, we've got love, so we'll be fine. Because the deeper in love you fall with somebody, the harder it is if it doesn't work. Have those conversations now. These are my ruminations and thoughts on how to establish boundaries, set boundaries in a long-distance relationship. Speaking of relationships and making them work and setting boundaries, how long should you date someone before you get married? What does the research say? Check out the video right here. You're going to want to take a look. If you enjoy Mended Light, share it with your friends. Like, subscribe, click that little bell, ring-a-dingy, because that's how you're going to get notified every time we got a new video. And I don't want you, as Aerosmith sang, to miss a thing.
And I don't want to miss a thing.
Until next time, I'm Jonathan Decker. This has been Ask a Therapist. And here comes the video. Here it comes. Look, watch. You got time. You're just sitting there on the toilet scrolling anyway.